ever, well, I say not first ever, but first episode ever of this month, as it is October. We are starting again the challenge of Inktober. If you don't know what we're doing, then definitely go and check out the previous years of last year's Inktober of 2019, because it's 2020. We all hate that year. We're all hating through that year. We're all still getting through that year. Some of us at least. If you are and you have picked up the talent, or if you're wanting to have a go at this challenge, then let me know by in the comments. They will be open today. I've got a few references that I want to kind of look at and do things today, because the first word on the first prompt, shall I say, for Inktober 2020 is fish. So we've got a few options that hopefully you can see there, yeah, because of the thing. But we've got like a silly fish. We've got like a general basic idea of jelly, not jellyfish, but I thought about jellyfish, but I thought no, it's too. I want to do more of a fish than like a blob of goo. You know what I mean? So we've got like an angelfish here, more of a what they call piranha. But again, I thought there were too bog standard, and think it was just a fish. Do I really just want to do a fish? Or do I want to do something, anything else, or anything sort of different? But yeah, we're going to be doing the first prompt today. Again, if you're not familiar with it, then go and check out the rules and regulations. There aren't that many, to be honest with you. I'm going to go through what I did yesterday to prepare before I get into it. I've got to basically be using 2 ink pens. They're my favourite ink pens. This is the Uniball 0.7 fine line. The only thing I ever use to like a sketch ink pen. You can do any kind of like same as like a pencil kind of sketch. So use like circle, whatever, lines and stuff. But I had a little warm up. If you're an illustrator, or if you do any kind of illustrating, you know that in the first 5 minutes you can draw that. Is what you can draw in the first 5 minutes. In the next 10, you start to warm up a little bit, and you start drawing a little bit more of the shape that you want. And then when you get to like the more of the idea what you're actually getting to, you get the details in. So that's what I was doing pre-stream today. I thought I'd give myself a little bit of a warm up before starting, because I don't want to give my warm up on the stream, because I've been waiting near enough pretty much a whole year to do this again, because I really did enjoy last year. Again, if you missed last year of 2020, then it's worth going to check out. If you can do, you can check it out either on your mobile device or your tablets, or anywhere you watch your streams. You can even watch it on your PC. But yeah, Inktober 2020. Again, if you want a little flashback of what we did, get rid of that, for 2019. We had different days, different prompts, different words. So different words. So first word was a ring on Inktober 2019, and then we went to like all the way. Here we go. How many days is that now? That day was day 15, and the word was legend. I thought I am legend because of the film and things. We will be listening to some audiobooks. Again, if you want to leave me a comment down below on what audiobook you would like me to listen to, or you want to actually listen to yourself, or if you've got your own, you make your own, even better, let me know. That was last year. Excuse me, I'm going to burp. And that was the last day. And then I've got more space in that book. We did a load more stuff. But that's last year. Again, we're going back onto 2020. Today's first word was fish. Got some references here. I kind of want to got something that I want to listen to, and I kind of the idea that I was thinking maybe doing, instead of just doing a basic fish on day one. Again, it's fish, so we'll write that down. Not that I need to, because I've been thinking of the word fish for the last how many? Oh my god! For the last at least month, I've been thinking what I know. I was say maybe the 16th. I think the prompts came out last month in September. And I was like, fish. What could I do for fish? Because I don't want to do bog standard. Because I think my inking skill from last year, it sort of showed that I didn't want to do. I'd never ever want to do just one thing on a page. I feel like it's a waste of a page just to do one simple little fish, like something like this. Let's get that up, like something like that. That there to me seems basic, and to take a whole page of just doing that, I mean, there's lots of detail in there. I mean, a lot of detail. But do I want I like to do detail as well as in the whole picture, if you see what I mean. So if I draw that fish, it'd probably have some sort of what are they called? What are they called? What's it called? Seaweed coming up, and maybe the water's edge. It's kind of a similar thing to what I did last year. But again, I like to go more silly with it. I don't want to go too silly with the things like that. That's too basic again. You're not going to get anything in with a line. I am going to be using the Copic markers that I do for my inking and colouring. I'm not sure how much colour I'm going to be putting into these ones. Again, it's completely fine if you want to do your own colour. You can put colour into it. It's not a problem. I've checked up on the rules. The rules are you can sketch. You can put a whole sketch if you wish. I am not going to because I think it breaks the original rules. Because the original very very first started, it was only an ink pen. I mean, you could add any ink pen you wanted. Then he went on to brushes and things like that and colour and things like that. And people have been saying, "Oh, can I sketch first? Because I'm a sketch artist." And I'm like, and he was like, "Yeah, you can, but." I will not, because the original rules was to see what your talent is, how it is with the just an ink pen without having a sketch pre-ready. You can have references, and that's what I've got here to go away fish to sort of take a look at and see what I want to draw. But again, I did want to go silly, but I wanted to have a little bit more detail to it, and I thought Rango the fish, or Rango, not the fish, Rango's fish in the film was something I wanted. I like the idea. I like the eye. It's the eye that gets me. It's just it's out there and it's not basic because there's shade and detail in the eye, the way it's popping, and they're sort of the fish and the hands. I just want to draw the hands and the fish and holding the fish like that, like it's his best buddy. You know what I mean? Like a fish. A fish to me is a fish, and fish in water, and everybody's doing bog standard basic. Oh, fish. I like to go goofy. That looks goofy, and it's Rango. If you ever watched the film, it's the most goofiest things you've ever seen. We're not going to be listening to Rango today because I couldn't find anything to do with that other than watching the film. That'll probably get me in trouble to watch or listen, either you listening to and watching a film. A lot of trouble, so he may even get me shut down. So I'll trying to find something to listen to. I generally listen to like a superhero type film comic story. I don't know what to listen to each day this week or this month. Generally, last year, what helped to do was just pick something general or around about or anything to do because I already know what I want to draw. Just an ink pen, no sketching, so there's no practice involved. It's just going to be that's that. I'm going to be using these and the other ink pens to shade and things like that. I will be putting shade into this. Different shading methods, maybe just putting darker lines. We'll never know until we get going. I've put set a timer already. Again, if you want to leave some comments, you can do. They will pop up on the top there. I won't check them on my phone, obviously, until if things start popping up. But if you have joined me, hopefully you'll have a good time. Hopefully you'll enjoy the audiobook that we listen to. Again, let me know in the comments down below if you've got any more for me to listen to, because I've got 31 days. Now technically only 30 days to go, but that's a long bloody time, if you remember last year's. So let's get on where we left off. Or I should say where we left off, where we started, which was this picture of a fish. And get on and draw that picture of the fish and do this. Yes. Let's go. I am recording this for recording purposes. So if you missed the whole thing, do not worry, because the 1st of next month, I'll be putting out the full, every single picture closed in. So you got nothing else other than the page. Getting on it, probably explaining something about it. If you can't watch the whole thing, guys, again, don't forget to keep checking back. Hit that subscribe button. Ding the bell for notifications for each and every day. But if you can't join everyone, there will be one recorded version at the very, very end of the month. So see what you can do by letting me know over on TikTok, because I am going to be posting something on TikTok for you guys to sort of share what else you have drawn. And yeah, we'll get on. You can find me over there, Bloot084, Art and Games.
Graphic audio. A movie in your mind. The watchtower rose from the surface of the moon. The gleaming silver structure stood out amidst the cratered landscape of the Sea of Serenity, not far from where Apollo 17 had touched down over 30 years ago. Steel panels and thick crystal portholes protected the inhabitants of the lunar base from the harsh vacuum outside, not to mention attacks from hostile forces. Despite its name, the watchtower resembled a sprawling complex more than a tower. 3 large wings radiated out from the central hub, which housed the legendary Hall of Justice, the chief meeting place of Earth's greatest heroes, the Justice League of America. Directly beneath the Hall of Justice was the monitor room, where the watchtower really lived up to its name. Multiple long-range scanners kept a close eye on the fragile blue planet less than 400,000 kilometers away, while another array of sensors were aimed out into space, watching closely for any sign of an impending alien invasion. The advance warning provided by the scanners had often meant the
Marking out the different areas of where everything is. So, lips, eye, neck.
League members took turns manning
We'll do all the hands on that afterwards.
adding their own judgment and intuition.
I'm going to get the shape of the fish in there first.
Analyzing the incoming data for potential
In my mind before I draw it, because again, no sketching, so I'm seeing it all before I do it.
John Jones, the Martian Manhunter, had the monitor room and the entire watchtower to himself. The last survivor of a long-dead alien race, he customarily took the form of a muscular, green-skinned humanoid with a hairless skull and the usual number of limbs. Thoughtful red eyes peered out from beneath his beetled brows. Bright red straps crossed his bare green chest. A voluminous blue cloak draped his shoulders, and a troubled expression occupied his face as he sat at the center of the monitor room, facing a huge wall composed entirely of multiple view screens. Disturbing images flashed across the screens, images transmitted from Earth, as well as from the distant reaches of outer space. John's extraterrestrial heart sank as he contemplated the images. It seemed as though the entire universe had gone insane. On one screen, intercepted TV news footage showed both heroes and villains battling against the ruthless blue cyborgs known as OMACs, short for Observational Metahuman Activity Construct. The OMACs had first started appearing only a few days ago, carrying out what appeared to be a systematic campaign of eradication against the world's metahumans. But they had only recently been revealed to be ordinary men and women involuntarily transformed into inhuman killing machines by an insidious virus that had infected their bloodstreams with millions of microscopic machines. Once activated, these nanobots caused an indestructible blue ceramic shell to form over the unsuspecting humans' bodies, turning them into faceless cyborgs with no will of their own. The OMACs were controlled by Brother Eye, a self-aware computer satellite programmed to monitor every superpowered being on the planet. Ironically, Brother Eye was the creation of Batman himself, who had intended to use the satellite to keep track of his fellow heroes. But the Dark Knight had somehow lost control of Brother Eye, which was no longer content to merely observe Earth's meta-human champions and their foes. Now it was intent on eliminating them all. John watched with both concern and relief as the young hero Kid Flash barely escaped a pack of flying OMACs. Crimson laser beams blasted from each OMAC's single red eye, converging on the outnumbered teenage boy clad in his bright yellow uniform. Moving with lightning speed, however, Bart Allen dodged the beams and ran for safety, turning into a yellow blur as he swiftly outpaced both the news cameras and his relentless adversaries. The OMACs zoomed after him, but Kid Flash appeared to have eluded them. John had to ask himself, but for how much longer? According to Batman, there were at least 200,000 OMACs under Brother Eye's control, many still to be activated.
Oh, Bruce, what have you done?
Alas, the OMAC situation was far from the only emergency facing both the League and the planet. John's gaze shifted to another screen, which was dominated by a photo of Lex Luthor, Superman's longtime foe. Below Luthor's portrait were smaller inserts bearing the images of numerous other felons now known to be allied with Luthor, including everyone from Black Adam to Zoom. Indeed, recent reports confirmed that Luthor had succeeded in organizing the League's archenemies into a so-called secret society of supervillains that now boasted literally dozens of members. Additional photos appeared beneath Luthor's portrait with alarming speed, as the League's computers steadily added to the expanding list of ruthless villains believed to be affiliated with the society. John John shook his head at the ever-growing rogues gallery displayed before his eyes. Individually, menaces such as the Cheetah and Deathstroke were formidable adversaries in their own right. He shuddered at the thought of so many of humanity's worst enemies working in unison.
Where is Luther now?
Despite Superman's best efforts, the criminal genius remained at large, his present whereabouts unknown.
What are he and his infamous cabal plotting at this very moment?
Martian Manhunter doubted that Luther had organized the society just to commit random acts of terrorism and extortion. He almost surely had some master plan at work.
But what is his ultimate goal?
Still, at least Luther was human, a creature of mere flesh and blood. His activities, heinous as they were, remained confined to the physical plane. The same could not be said of another deadly menace, one that was even now wreaking havoc in the realms of the supernatural, with dire effects upon both the living and the dead. John's gaze was drawn to another set of screens, where a pale, ghostly figure shrouded in a hooded cloak could be seen battling Captain Marvel high above the streets of Budapest. This was the Spectre, an all-powerful supernatural entity who some believed to be nothing less than the very embodiment of the wrath of God. The Spectre had often been a force for justice, albeit of a harsh and unforgiving variety, and had even allied himself with the League in years past. But recent events seemed to have driven him mad. Rumors among the occult community, passed on to the League by a network of contacts and informants, claimed that the crazed Spectre had embarked on an insane new mission. Instead of merely punishing the wicked, as was his wont, self was inherently evil and needed to be eradicated altogether. Now he was striking out at both good and evil magic users alike, regardless of the consequences. On the screen, the Spectre grew to gargantuan height until his ghostly form towered over the Hungarian capital. With a single sweep of his immense hand, he swatted Captain Marvel as though he were a fly. Marvel's powers, John recalled, were derived from the wizard Shazam, which explained why Earth's mightiest mortal had incurred the Spectre's anger. The innocent hero, whose cheerful golden-red costume contrasted sharply with the Spectre's dark green cloak, smashed into an 18th century clock tower. Debris rained down on the frightened people below. John was appalled at the wanton destruction.
Surely the wrath of God would not be so indiscriminate in its exercise.
As a Martian, John had his doubts regarding the Terran conception of God. He preferred the pantheon of Martian deities he had worshipped back on his native planet. Yet he could not deny the near-omnipotent power of the Spectre, and trembled at the thought of such power being wielded so recklessly. Too many of Earth's greatest champions drew their strength from the very mystical forces that the Spectre appeared determined to destroy.
What of the Phantom Stranger? Or Zatanna?
And how long could it be before this monumental tumult in the supernatural world spilled out into the mortal plane, endangering the lives and souls of innocent human beings? John feared the worst, now that the Spectre was on a rampage. The Spectre was a force beyond the ken of mortals.
Who among us possesses the power to stop him? Not even Superman can halt his vengeance.
But not only Earth was in danger. John turned his attention to another set of monitors, which revealed a cosmic catastrophe taking place trillions of light years away. Alien technology, generations ahead of Terran science, allowed the watchtower to pick up faster-than-light signals emanating from the distant Polaris system, where an unimaginable conflict threatened scores of sentient species. The planets Ran and Thanagar, both home to advanced humanoid civilizations, were at war, and the bitter hostilities had turned their entire sector of the galaxy into a battlefield. After its solar
Well, that's a
system
bad
became
hand.
uninhabitable,
I knew I shouldn't have drew that in first. Never mind.
But in the process, Thanagar was devastated.
We can't fix it.
The remaining Thanagarians had declared war. Fleets of armed spacecraft contended in space, while winged Thanagarian soldiers had invaded the surface of Ran, home to Adam Strange, a transplanted Earthman and League ally. To complicate matters, other extraterrestrial races had taken sides in the conflict, joining with either Ran or Thanagar.
Oh, I
So
feel
the dispute between
horrible.
the two
Anyway.
planets had erupted into a violent conflagration involving the Tamaranians, the Dominators, and many other powerful species.
War is like fire. Once ignited, it often spreads out of control, consuming everything it touches.
The conflict in the Polaris system was a long way from Earth, yet he knew better than most how small the universe had become. After all, he was neither the first nor the last extraterrestrial to visit Earth. There was no guarantee that the Thanagar War would not make its way there as well.
We need to be prepared for anything.
Easier said than done. The diverse crises could not have come at a worse time. The League itself was in
Alright, pretty boy.
and controversy. John keyed a command into the control panel before him, and the face of a smiling man in a blue mask and translucent yellow goggles appeared on the screen directly in front of him.
Blue Beetle, deceased.
The image was a poignant reminder of a painful loss. Ted Cord, the Blue Beetle, had died only days ago while investigating the shadowy figure behind the OMAC project. He had been murdered by Maxwell Lord, a charismatic business tycoon and longtime associate of the League, who had proved to be the instigator of the OMAC's campaign against the world's superhumans. The Blue Beetle had exposed Max's treachery, but only at the cost of his own life. Martian Manhunter bowed his head in sorrow.
Forgive us, my friend. With so much going on, we barely had time to mourn you.
He felt the loss of his old teammate deeply. In truth, the Blue Beetle, a crime-fighting acrobat and inventor, had never been the world's most impressive superhero. But John had always valued Ted Cord's gentle humor and good spirits.
You deserved a happier end.
John pressed a button, consigning his friend's face to the computer's copious memory banks. His expression darkened as he recalled what had happened after the tragedy. The Blue Beetle had been avenged, but only at a terrible cost. Reluctantly, John's eyes turned toward an array of screens dedicated to monitoring terrestrial news broadcasts. The same loop of footage kept playing over and over again on the various international news networks, just as it had been doing for the last few days. John gazed at the news clip for maybe the 100th time, as dismayed now by the horrifying images as he had been the very first time he had viewed them. Maxwell Lord was a prisoner, bound tightly within the coils of Wonder Woman's golden lasso of truth. The beautiful Amazon princess, perhaps the most admired member of the League, save for Superman, stared intently into Max's eyes. Her exquisite face bore a solemn yet resolute expression. Without hesitation, she took hold of her captive's head and twisted it around until his neck snapped like a twig. The world would never look at Wonder Woman the same way again, and neither would some of her teammates. The damning visuals of Wonder Woman coolly killing a man with her bare hands had been captured by Brother Eye and broadcast to all the world's media. As far as the average person was concerned, Diana had instantly gone from heroine to murderous vigilante. In fact, John knew the truth was far more complicated. Max Lord had done more than murder the Blue Beetle in cold blood. He had also used his own telepathic abilities to take over Superman's mind, turning the Man of Steel into a weapon to be used against any who opposed the Tycoon. Under Max's command, Superman had almost killed both Batman and Wonder Woman before the Amazon finally managed to get the upper hand on Max. Killing him had been the only way to permanently free Superman from the villain's spell. Or had it?
Could Diana have found another way?
John was reluctant to condemn Wonder Woman, yet he couldn't help feeling that she had crossed a crucial line, and that the League itself was the weaker for it. Certainly, the public uproar over Max's death compromised the JLA's ability to deal with the myriad emergencies that suddenly seemed to be occurring all at once.
We are stretched thin enough as is.
He rose from his seat and took a few steps backward, trying to take in the big picture. On the manifold screens before him, OMAX scoured the world for metahuman prey. Costumed villains attacked in packs before disappearing back into the shadows. A vengeful spirit hovered above a terrified city, and gleaming starships blasted each other apart in the soundless depths of space. There was almost too much to absorb at one time, but John struggled to make sense of it all.
We're being hunted by cybernetic centurions. Our longtime adversaries have been organized into an army. The world of magic has been corrupted, and an interstellar war has broken out. What does it all mean? Could there be a connection?
Before he died, the Blue Beetle had theorized that there was a conspiracy at work, that all these apparently unrelated threats were part of a larger crisis. Others in the League had dismissed this as paranoia, and yet...
What if Ted was right? What if none of this is a coincidence?
It was a sobering thought, enough so that he was almost afraid to grasp the full implications of such a scenario. What sort of foe could possibly be powerful enough and cunning enough to orchestrate a scheme of this magnitude? The electronic chime announced the arrival of another League member via one of the teleportation tubes installed throughout the watchtower. John wondered who it was. Aquaman was not due to relieve him for another hour or so.
Perhaps Arthur is early?
His curiosity was easily satisfied. DNA scanners built into the teleporters ensured that no unauthorized visitors could beam into the watchtower. John leaned over to tap the control panel, and a status report appeared on the screen.
Teleportation tube activated. Arrival, Deck 1.
The icon indicating the visitor's identity was one of the most recognizable symbols in the world, a large red S enclosed in a five-sided shield.
Superman.
Out of the corner of his eye, he caught a glimpse of a flowing red cape.
I'm glad you're here. We need to reorganize our response to the world situation. I think there's a very real possibility that everything we're facing is connected somehow.
I know. The timbre of the voice immediately tipped off John that something was wrong. He spun around to get a better look at the caped figure entering the monitor room. His crimson eyes widened in surprise. Given another second, he would have used his telepathic gifts to probe the newcomer's mind. But he never got the chance.
You're not!
A blast of intense heat struck him like a raging fire, the one element to which all Martians were most vulnerable. The scorching rays seared his emerald flesh. He threw up his hands to defend himself, but it was already too late. The pain was too much for him, and the world went away, lost within a red-hot blaze. 5 minutes later, a tremendous explosion rocked the surface of the moon. The watchtower stood no longer. Graphic Audio presents DC Comics Infinite Crisis Part 1 by Greg Cox. Narrated by Richard Rowan, with performances by James Konachek, Colleen Delaney, Terrence Aselford, Nanette Savard, Jeff Baker, David Coyne, Ken Jackson, Dolores King Williams, Karen Carbone, Kate Torrey, Tim Carlin, James Lewis, Michael Glenn, Michael Loplogle, Casey Jones, Thomas Penny, Ted Stoddard, Chloe James, Christopher Walker, Susan Linsky, Christopher Graybill, Faith Potts, Jacinda Bernard, Chris Rowland, Nathaniel Perry, and Mort Shelby. Based on the DC Comics miniseries. The moon. New craters dotted the lunar landscape. Charred debris littered the basaltic lava plains. The Earth, rising over the horizon, cast a cold blue radiance over the Sea of Serenity and the mangled remains of the watchtower. Fires still blazed within the atmospheric force field, protecting the smoking ruins from the vacuum outside. Torn and twisted metal reflected the raging flames. The watchtower's exterior plating had been constructed of virtually impenetrable promethium-reinforced titanium-vanadium alloys, but that had not spared the JLA's headquarters from the explosion that had destroyed it from within. The central tower and observation deck had collapsed completely, burying the Hall of Justice and the lower levels of the hub beneath tons of smoldering rubble. Thick black fumes spread outward until they reached the limits of the force field, creating a sooty bubble above the ruins. Thin wisps of smoke began to seep out into space. The force field, it seemed, was beginning to weaken. Superman soared above the wreckage, heedless of the moon's feeble gravity. The lifeless vacuum and bitter cold had no effect upon his invulnerable form, although it felt strange not to have the wind blowing against his face. Momentum alone spread his bright red cape out behind him. The capital S upon his chest was known throughout the galaxy. High above the leaking force field, he gazed down at the ruins in dismay. The watchtower was utterly demolished, possibly beyond repair. From the look of things, it appeared that the explosion had originated somewhere deep within the central hub.
That's where John would have been.
Superman eyed the crackling flames with concern. Fire affected Martians, much as kryptonite affected him. What if the blaze had weakened John before he could escape? The Martian Manhunter might still be trapped somewhere within the burning ruins. His X-ray vision penetrated the wreckage, but he found no sign of his friend. Ascending higher into the lunar sky, he scanned the surrounding terrain for miles around. With telescopic vision, he examined the desolate moonscape, but spied not even a microscopic trace of the missing hero. His super hearing heard nothing beyond muffled sounds of destruction from within the force field down below. Superman hovered, uncertain whether to be relieved or disturbed.
At least I didn't find John's body. That's something to be grateful for.
But only a formidable adversary could have abducted John, if that was indeed what had transpired. The Martian Manhunter's strength and powers rivaled Superman's own.
Maybe Luthor's new society?
Anger flared in Superman's heart at the thought of Lex striking out at his friends once more. This wouldn't be the first time that Luthor had organized an assault on the League. For now, however, the trail had gone cold. Superman swooped down toward what remained of the watchtower.
I might as well check back in. Bruce will be waiting for my report.
He approached the perimeter of the sooty bubble.
Atmospheric force field opening.
He quickly zipped through the momentary gap in the structure's emergency defenses. The rising flames posed no danger to him as he dove headfirst through the raging fire consuming the Hall of Justice. The League's famous round table lay in pieces about the demolished meeting room. Shredded metal seats were scattered like fallen shrapnel. Windows made of clear Thanagarian crystal had been blown out by the blast.
Atmospheric force field closed. Operating at 6%.
That doesn't sound good.
Superman flew through a jagged breach in the floor to the chamber below. The monitor room was barely recognizable. Shattered screens offered no clue as to what had transpired there. Torn, sparking cables dangled from the ceiling. An overturned steel chair rested amidst a carpet of fallen debris. Earthlight filtered down from above through breached bulkheads. Scorched ceramic tiles were cracked and crumbling. The air smelled of smoke and burning circuitry. The artificial gravity felt distinctly weaker. A solitary figure waited for him on an elevated walkway at the center of the ravaged nerve center. A stark black cloak and cowl were draped over the man's equally black body armor, so that he blended in with the shadows thrown by the faint blue light. Opaque white lenses concealed his eyes. The scalloped tips of his cape brushed against the floor. Only the bottom half of his face was left uncovered by his forbidding disguise. His mouth was a hard, straight line above a strong jaw.
Well,
Superman shook his head.
I've scanned the entire area, Batman. There's no physical trace of Martian Manhunter. John is gone, and the Watchtower won't be standing for long either.
Batman nodded before turning back to his investigation.
the teleportation chamber was activated less than 9 seconds before the tower exploded. Someone was here. Someone did this.
Touching down lightly upon the floor, Superman noticed that Batman was holding a metal cube about the size of a disposable camera. Scorch marks blemished the object's carbon steel casing. A blinking electronic light indicated that the device was still functioning to some degree. Superman tried to look past the casing, but his X-ray vision was blocked by a layer of lead shielding.
What's that?
A black box. It's ghosted our security cameras and recorded everything on our monitor screens for the last 2 years. It should tell me who's responsible for this.
More spying?
Superman frowned. They were still dealing with the genocidal machinations of Brother Eye.
That satellite of yours wasn't enough?
If Batman was chastened by his colleague's rebuke, the Dark Knight gave no sign of it.
Don't be naive, Clark. This is simple security.
Nothing's simple.
They turned to see a breathtaking vision stride confidently out into the walkway. Earthlight, pouring down through the sundered walls and ceiling, fell upon a strikingly beautiful woman with lustrous black hair and a magnificent physique. A ruby inlaid tiara rested above her smooth white brow. Silver bracelets adorned her well-toned arms. A golden breastplate and girdle gleamed upon her athletic figure. A star-spangled cape flowed behind her like a royal train. A lasso of golden links, glowing with their own enchanted radiance, rested upon one hip. A golden sword was sheathed against the other. Standing nearly as tall as the two men, Wonder Woman could easily be mistaken for one of the fabled Greek goddesses who had granted her so many extraordinary abilities.
I should have known she would join us.
When the Watchtower exploded, an automatic distress signal had gone out to every active member of the League. Thankfully, a few of the backup teleporters were still working.
You don't belong here, Diana.
None of us do, Bruce. Not anymore.
Batman wasn't willing to concede the point.
People are scared.
They should be. The world is going to Tartarus.
That's not the point. They're scared of us now. They're scared of us because of you.
Superman wished that Diana wasn't forcing him to spell it out for her like this.
They've been broadcasting the images non-stop, Diana. Don't you understand? The whole world watched you. They all watched you murder a man.
His mind flashed back to that ghastly moment. When still dazed from Max Warlord's mind control, he had looked on helplessly as Wonder Woman snapped Max's neck with clear and deliberate intent. The awful crack that had heralded the man's death still echoed inside Superman's skull. Once more, he saw Max's lifeless body drop limply to the floor of the villain's command center, still wrapped tightly within the coils of Diana's golden lasso.
Don't think we're doing too badly. What do you reckon, guys? If there's anybody there, let me know, because I think I'm at the point where I'm ready to start sort of tweaking it a little bit now with darker lines, thicker lines. So before I do, I'll let all of that dry and check out to see if anybody is actually watching. If not, I will record and carry on.
Under his command, you would have killed the rest of the League and many other innocents besides. With the lasso of truth upon him, Max told me the only way I could truly free you. I made my decision. I stand by it as the proper one.
Superman wasn't sure what disturbed him more, her actions or her lack of remorse. He knew that Diana had slain monsters before, like Medusa or the Scylla, but Max Lord had not been some mythological Greek monstrosity. He had only been a man, albeit an evil one.
He was one of the people we were supposed to protect.
A steel girder crashed somewhere below them. The walkway quaked beneath their feet. Obviously, the watchtower wasn't done collapsing yet.
It's not safe here.
Batman nodded in agreement. He flipped the black box to his utility belt.
I have what I came for. I should get back to Gotham.
And I to Themyscira.
Wonder Woman referred to the island home of her Amazon sister.
Alexa, how long's left on that timer?
You have 12 minutes left on your 50-minute timer.
Okay, we might actually get a picture done in 50 minutes here, guys.
Superman was tempted to let the matter of Max's death drop.
Ooh, okay, alright.
Ignore the repercussions of Diana's
Because I'm kind of happy with the way that's come out so far. Again, only did it with one ink pen, and that's all you need, guys. If you've got a reference, you can just follow the reference to the best of your ability. If you're still learning, Inktober is definitely one of the best ways to improve your skills, because you can always start at a bad area that you think, I mean, I don't like that. I mean, it's okay in the sort of detailed parts of it and to scratch the lines and things like that. I think I can do better, and hopefully by the end of Inktober this year, because this is where I was last year, and this is where I thought, yeah, this is as far as I can get myself. But I want to get further than this. I want to proper full detail. That's why I'm getting another pens involved. I'll probably do a little bit of shading with maybe the greys actually. I don't know if I want to put colour on this, but we'll see how everything goes, and carry on where we left off on the thing. But yeah, if you're still watching, guys, thank you very much for doing that. But hit subscribe so you don't miss tomorrow, because this is going to be another, at least, well, it'll be a while. So I'm going to stop and record here, but I'm not going to stop altogether. Where's that controller gone? Press control and record, and then we'll start on with the ink from the other kinds. So we've done that, all of that in, well, how long we got left? 12 minutes, she said. 12 minutes. Can I get all of that in 12 minutes? Well, I'm not rushing myself, that's one thing for anything. I do want to take a picture of this before I do anything else to it, because I'm counting this as my sketch as well. And then I'll add a little bit more. Why did I tap YouTube? I want the camera. In fact, I'm going to have to remove this so I can see it in a better light. Give me a second. I can never get a decent light here either. Right, let's go over there. obviously not going to get light. Oh look, it's raining. Lovely. And back over here. Could have left that to run for you, really. Let's have a go and we'll have to faff around.
A gigantic fist struck him with the force of a battering ram. The impact sent it rocketing upward through floor after floor and out into the thinning atmosphere within the force field. He smashed through the defensive barrier itself and kept on going.
Atmospheric force field operating at 4%.
Kent Farm, Smallville, Kansas. Connor Kent still couldn't believe his eyes.
Maybe I could put a little bit of colour in there. I don't know. Now I'm looking at... Will you not do that to me?
A vase of fresh flowers.
Now I'm looking at it like this. It kind of
next to the TV remote,
definitely needs a little bit more, but
a braided rug
maybe a bit of colour too. We'll see.
Against the wall, a maple hutch displayed a collection of good china and school trophies. A framed wedding photo
Alexa,
by the door.
Cancel timer.
50-minute timer cancelled.
Alexa, set a timer for 50 minutes.
50 minutes, starting now.
Right, okay. Let's get a little bit more done.
Connor didn't know what to make.
Think about where the light's coming from. It's always coming from over there with me.
Then again,
just to make it easy for me. Simple, so I can always know where it's coming.
Once, Connor believed himself to be a teenage clone of Superman himself, conceived in a test tube during those dark days between Superman's death and his resurrection a few years back. As Superboy, Connor had done his best to live up to his mentor's example. Recently, however, he had discovered that his link to Superman was only half the story. In fact, he had been genetically engineered from the DNA of the Man of Steel and Lex Luthor. The shocking revelation had thrown him for a loop, causing him to doubt both himself and his mission.
Connor has two daddies. What kind of hero can I be when half of my chromosomes come from Superman's greatest enemy?
Confused and disillusioned, he had retreated to the Kent's farm to try to figure out what to do next. The humble domicile had become his home away from home, and was a whole lot comfier than the Fortress of Solitude.
If even Wonder Woman can go bad, what chance do I have?
On the TV, the 1,000,000th airing of the Wonder Woman murder tape was interrupted by breaking news.
We go live to Los Angeles, where members of the Teen Titans are desperately fighting to protect the City of Angels from a bizarre army of creatures.
What? Connor leaned forward anxiously. The 20-inch screen showed Cassie Sandsmark, a.k.a. Wonder Girl, flying high above the city streets. The adolescent blonde was locked in combat with what looked like scores of scaly, bat-winged gargoyles. Wonder Woman's golden emblem was emblazoned on the girl's bright red belly shirt above a pair of matching latex trousers. Amazon bracelets adorned her arms. She hurled a golden lasso at one of the winged monsters, snaring it around the waist. The illegitimate daughter of Zeus himself, Wonder Girl fought with the strength and speed of a genuine demigoddess, and looked good doing it. She used her lasso to swing the trapped demon into a nearby neon sign. The sign exploded in a shower of sparks. A second creature spat fire at Cassie, but she blocked the flames with her silver bracelet.
Good move.
In the background, Cyborg, Raven, and the other Titans also battled the demonic horde. A large green pterodactyl was obviously the shape.
It's going to need colour more than it is more darkening.
Cyborg blasted the
Definitely.
with a burst of white noise from one of his artificial arms, while Raven used her mystic cloak to transport
I want some grey.
Green Arrow's latest sidekick fired a cryogenic arrow into a clump of gargoyles. In a blinding flash, the creatures were frozen in place. The green pterodactyl grabbed two monsters with its talons and rammed their scaly heads together.
Church officials deny that the Pope believes that these are the end times prophesied in the Book of Revelation.
More like a nasty character to his old tricks.
Connor caught a glimpse of Brother Blood lurking in the background of One Shot. The demonic cult leader was an old enemy of the Teen Titans.
How the heck did he escape from Hades again? Must have taken some seriously screwed up hocus pocus.
Part of Connor wished he was fighting beside his friends. Up until a few weeks ago, he would have been. That was before he found out who and what he really was. Besides, it looked like the Titans were holding their own without him.
They don't need me. They probably never did.
With the melee in Los Angeles still underway, the news abruptly shifted to another location.
Live from Gotham City, we bring you new sightings of the so-called OMACs. Speculation continues as to their exact nature and purpose. Government officials deny any involvement.
Shaky footage captured 3 of the deadly cyborgs flying in formation above the city. Because he'd been keeping a low profile, Connor had yet to encounter an OMAC himself. But he was already familiar with their glossy blue carapaces and glowing cyclopean eyes. Superman had taken time out of his busy schedule to warn Connor about the OMACs weeks ago. Watching the faceless automatons cruise over Gotham, Connor couldn't help wondering who the cyborgs were after now. Batman, the Huntress? Or could it be Robin? His heart skipped a beat as he spotted his best friend swinging between the soot-stained buildings beneath the OMACs. Clad in the traditional red and green uniform of Batman's protégés, Tim Drake let go of his jump line to land acrobatically on a jutting window ledge, several stories above the concrete pavement below. His yellow cape flapped in the wind as he glanced back over his shoulder at the cyborgs pursuing him. A blast of crimson energy burst from the lead OMAC's single eye, targeting Robin, who leaped from his perch only a heartbeat before the blast reduced the brick ledge to rubble. Grabbing onto a flagpole, he spun around before vaulting back into the air. A grapnel shot into an overhanging eave, and he used another jump line to go swinging into a
I'm thinking, should I or not put any colour on there? Colour is screaming at me going, put me on there, but it's an ink picture. And they're traditionally not coloured. Well, they are coloured in a coloured ink, which is what these are. Just want to see what that gives me. That's a light grey. I know it's light, but I want the difference between greys. That's a lot darker. These will definitely be darker. Yeah. That's like an underlay. Just go. I should have used that to go around things really. At the bottom, definitely if you like light surfaces. That's more of a red. So that would work there. There for a general. There for a darker underlay. We'll worry about anything else there and carry on. I think. Ooh, I'm having some fun. What about you?
shadowy alley between 2 buildings. Robotic red eyes scanned for him in vain.
Usually appearing in groups of 3 or less, the OMACs seem to be amassing over most major cities.
Connor was relieved to see that Robin was keeping one step ahead of the implacable man-machines.
Looks like all that training in the Batcave paid off. Tim can take care of himself.
You've been sitting in front of that tube all day, watching these awful things happen.
A middle-aged woman entered the living room. Flour dusted her white apron. The enticing aroma of fresh apple pie wafted in from the kitchen. Concern showed behind her tinted spectacles.
You need to go help your friends.
Connor shook his head and used the remote to turn down the volume on the TV.
Luther didn't clone me to help people, Aunt Martha.
That's for you to decide, not anyone else.
Right on cue.
Connor glanced down at a small ceramic square on the coffee table, about the size of a Scrabble tile. A large capital T was etched on the face of the chip. T for Titans. His team was calling him. Aunt Martha knew just what the signal meant.
The world needs a Superboy. And right now, you're all they've got.
Was she right? Connor rose uncertainly from the couch. Wearing a rumpled blue shirt, jeans, sneakers, and glasses, he looked like any other teenager, until he tugged open his shirt to expose a tight black t-shirt sporting a distinctive red S.
Maybe Aunt Martha has a point.
He was beginning to feel more like his old self than he had in weeks. His jaw clenched in determination. He started to take off his glasses.
Wait a minute.
Connor picked up the remote.
This just in, a new report from Anchorage, Alaska, where fugitive Lex Luthor was spotted today. The body of a local bush pilot was found only minutes ago, his plane missing.
A photo of a sneering, bald-headed man flashed upon the screen. Connor stared at the villainous face on the television, trying to recognize traces of his own features in Luther's sinister mugshot.
Luther, of course, is the prime suspect in numerous murders and atrocities.
Luther.
The infamous name gave Connor pause.
What was I thinking? I'm the last thing Cassie and the others need right now.
Only days ago, Luther had activated a hidden behavioral program buried deep in Connor's unconscious mind, turning him against his fellow Teen Titans. He'd almost killed Robin. At a crucial moment, he had broken free of Lex's influence, but how could he be sure that he wouldn't let his friends down again?
His evil is woven into every cell of my body.
He slid his glasses back onto his nose. His shoulders slumped as he buttoned up his shirt, concealing the heroic symbol on his chest. He reached down and picked up the communicator. A discouraging silence descended upon the living room. Martha looked down on him sadly. She didn't lecture him, but he knew that he had disappointed her.
She just doesn't understand.
He dropped back onto the couch.
I'm not Superboy. I never really was. I'm just another one of Luther's diabolical science projects. The Titans are better off without me. Everybody is.
Somewhere outside time and space, 4 forgotten figures looked on, unobserved. A crystalline matrix offered a window onto a universe they were no part of. They watched from afar as Connor wrestled with his doubts and lost.
Look at him. How can Connor can't do nothing?
After all that poor boy has gone through, it's not surprising that he's feeling lost. But I believe he will step forward in time.
Superboy will fail to make a difference. Just like the others. As much as I hate to admit it, we've made a horrible miscalculation. It's time to take action.
We could make things on Earth worse if we intervene.
And if we don't get involved, there will be no Earth to worry about.
The 4th figure, standing behind the others, kept his thoughts to himself. Bloodhaven, north of Gotham City. As cities went, Bloodhaven made Gotham look like Metropolis. The streets were filthier, the air was dirtier, the cops were more brutal and corrupt. Graffiti spread like fungus over the city's narrow alleys and empty storefronts. Steel shutters and iron bars guarded every home and business, a necessary precaution in the dog-eat-dog environment of this urban cesspool. Litter clotted the streets and sidewalks. Broken windows went unrepaired. Drug dealers and prostitutes flaunted their wares openly, provided they had bribed all the right people. Recently, the Chamber of Commerce, in a quixotic attempt to boost tourism, had solicited the public for a catchy new slogan with which to promote the city. To their disappointment, nearly every suggestion had been obscene, sarcastic, or both. The leading contender? Bloodhaven. Pay up or else. But one young man, raised in the bright colors and garish make-believe of the circus, still hoped to save the city from itself, or at least make a difference. Dick Grayson, the first person to be known as Robin the Boy Wonder, now called himself Nightwing. The bat-shaped mask affixed to his face and the somber tones of his blue and black uniform paid tribute to his fearsome mentor, even though Nightwing had long since established an adult identity of his own. A fetid breeze rustled his dark hair as he stood at the edge of a tar-papered rooftop, looking out over the city. Night had fallen on Bloodhaven, bringing out the city's many nocturnal predators. The sounds of the city drifted up from the streets below. No screams or gunfire yet. It was a quiet night in the Haven.
I wonder if everyone is indoors watching the news.
TV viewership always went up during major disasters, and the media could barely keep up with all the bad news these days.
Maybe everyone is waiting out the end of the world.
He turned away from the ledge to face the trio of women who had just arrived in the city to bid him farewell. Amidst the grime and decay of Bloodhaven, the 3 beauties stood out like angels from a higher realm, which, in a way, they were. In fact, Troya, Starfire, and Supergirl had all grown up in outer space, thousands of light years from Earth.
And I thought being raised under the big top was unusual.
I'm glad we managed to find you tonight.
I didn't want to leave without saying goodbye.
Donna was one of his oldest friends. As the original Wonder Girl, she had helped him found the first grouping of the Teen Titans years ago, back when he was still calling himself Robin. Now, grown into a strong and confident woman, she went by the name Troya. The stars themselves glittered in her lustrous black hair and shimmering black leotard. A futuristic silver orb hovered near her shoulder. Nightwing recognized the travel sphere as an artifact of New Cronus, the distant world in which Donna had been reared by the Titans of Greek mythology. The silvery flecks on her garment served as a stellar map, pinpointing the exact location of New Cronus.
So you're really going to go?
Troya nodded.
Uh-huh. Before they fled this reality, the Titans of myth warned that the end of the universe was coming. And now that prophecy seems to be coming true. Deep in space, the Ranians and Thanagarians are at war. Near the center of the conflict is a mysterious cosmic storm, an immense rift in the very fabric of the space-time continuum that is growing larger with each passing second. Each side in the war blames the other for the cataclysm, but I fear that soon they will all be fighting merely to survive.
Her face took on a grave expression.
If something isn't done soon, if we don't find a way to quell the storm, it could mean the end of the universe as we know it. That's why I'm gathering heroes to go with me into space to cope with the crisis before it's too late.
So who are you taking?
Firestorm, Jade, Cyborg, Animal Man, Red Tornado, Shift, Alan Scott. And Corey and Kara, of course.
She gestured toward the two women beside her.
Sounds like a good crew.
He wasn't offended that Donna had not invited him. This sounded like a seriously cosmic affair, not the kind of adventure in which a glorified acrobat and martial artist was likely to come in handy.
I could do more good here on Earth.
I'm so flattered that Donna thought of me.
The willowy blonde was Superman's cousin from the planet Krypton, only recently arrived on Earth. Supergirl wore a two-piece version of her cousin's famous costume, but with a miniskirt instead of leggings. Kara Zor-El sounded eager to take part in Donna's expedition.
My cousin's not exactly thrilled with the idea, but hey, saving the universe sounds good to me.
Trust me, I know all about overprotective guardians.
He didn't know Kara well, but she struck him as young and enthusiastic.
Just like Donna and me when we were her age.
Sometimes those early days seemed like centuries ago. Old memories surfaced with unexpected force as the third woman stepped forward. Unlike Supergirl, whose thoroughly human appearance belied her extraterrestrial origins, there was no mistaking Starfire's exotic alien appearance. Her emerald eyes lacked any visible pupils or whites. Flawless orange.
Okay, guys, I've decided that I'm not going to put any colour on this one. I don't think it needs it because I'm kind of happy with the way that's turned out with just ink pens. I haven't sketched, but I have used a reference. But yeah, there's my entry number one for prompt. I'm going to start again on that. There's my entry for the prompt word, which was fish. There's my fish. Hopefully you have enjoyed it. Tune in again tomorrow live for another episode or another prompt of Inktober 2020. And tomorrow's prompt, you can find out what it is. And we'll be carrying on with a fresh new page. We're just using ink pens and what other else you got about this formed ink pen. Otherwise, guys, thanks for watching. Click the links that will appear if you're watching back. And don't forget to hit subscribe, ding the bell for notifications for when the full every single day will be done. For the next 31 days, well, 30 days is Inktober. Just ink and nothing else. Catch you later.